The Singapore GP has just ended, and we already have a complete summary of everything that happened on the track, with all the emotions, overtaking, and strategies used by the drivers in search of a good result. But quickly, first of all, subscribe so you don't miss any details about this end of the Formula One season. And if you like videos full of information, but without any fuss like this one, leave a like to support our work. Well, without further ado, let's go to the track with very high expectations for this race, since Lando Norris has been getting dangerously close in the Drivers' Championship, and Max Verstappen is trying everything to not lose his title. A little behind, we have Mercedes, which has also improved its performance in the last few races, and is now fighting for podiums and even victories with a good strategy that could give them a victory. And right at the start, we noticed some drivers taking a little more risk with their tire choice, since most drivers started on medium tires, but others like Hamilton and Ricciardo started on soft tires, trying something different than the rest in search of a better position, with Hamilton warning before the race that his goal was victory, believing that his car would be competitive for that. With the lights out, Lando Norris got off to a great start and managed to defend his first place without much difficulty, with Verstappen having to worry about Hamilton, who avoided taking too many risks and causing a collision right on the first lap, with some drivers going off the track, but no accidents at the beginning of the race. And even with soft tires, Hamilton was unable to stay close to Verstappen, with a difference of almost 2 seconds as soon as they completed the first lap, with Verstappen also being more than 1 second behind Norris, and thus he could not open the movable wing at the beginning of the race. Franco Colapinto got off to a great start, and by lap 3 he was already in 9th place, while his teammate was only in 15th place, with Albon complaining that his teammate had made a crazy dive into the first corner, which had hurt him a lot. Sainz got off to a bad start and lost several positions. In these first laps, Hamilton had to take it easy on his tires, which made his teammate George Russell complain a lot about the pace, asking them to accelerate a little more so that the drivers in front wouldn't get too far away. On lap 6, Norris had a 1.7-second advantage over Verstappen, with the team asking Norris to increase the pace to open up at least a 5-second gap over the second-place driver before his first pit stop, with the driver increasing his advantage significantly in the following laps, reaching 3.5 seconds on lap 9. Lewis Hamilton was 3 seconds behind Verstappen, with Hülkenberg holding on well in 6th place and Alonso also holding on in 7th place. Perez was unable to improve beyond 10th place at this point, which was not a great start to the race for the Mexican. On lap 11, Daniel Ricciardo had to pit to change his soft tires, as his strategy was not working very well, and he was not improving as much as he had imagined in this initial part. Around lap 15, McLaren began to think about their pit stop strategy, warning Norris that with a 2-second advantage, he would defend against an undercut from Verstappen. With his advantage actually approaching 10 seconds, and the McLaren car performing very well in this initial part, not giving Verstappen a chance to get closer. On lap 17, Alex Albon retired from the race with problems with his car, with his power unit overheating, being the first car to leave the race. On lap 18, Hamilton went into the pits and fitted hard tires, with Russell and Piastri fighting for 4th place in a very close battle, with the Australian not letting the Mercedes driver get away enough to defend himself from the undercut. On lap 25, Norris' advantage over Verstappen was already 18 seconds, with all drivers having a hard time overtaking on this tight circuit, and the positions not changing much, and the dispute over strategies speaking louder at this moment, with no one wanting to make a mistake and end up losing position during the tire change. Lewis Hamilton, who was unable to improve, complained a lot on the radio that this strategy had ruined his race, with his team asking the driver to calm down as he still had a lot of race ahead of him. On lap 27, Piastri caught up with Russell and was already opening the wing, aiming for what would be 3rd place at that moment. But on the following lap, Russell was called in for his tire change and returned ahead of his teammate, gaining a lot of time during the stop, and until that moment, he was on the podium. On lap 29, Leclerc finally managed to pass Hülkenberg and gained a position. Lap 30, and Norris complained of problems with his car, perhaps damage to his front wing, losing a lot of time on that lap, with Red Bull immediately calling Verstappen for his tire change to try to take advantage of any problem with the race leader. However, Verstappen came out behind Leclerc, which could have disrupted Red Bull's strategy, with Verstappen passing Leclerc on the same lap without difficulty. And on the next lap, Lando Norris went into the pits and only changed the tires, without changing anything on the front wing, appearing to be a bluff by McLaren or just some adjustment problem that Norris didn't like. On the next lap, McLaren stated that there was indeed a problem with the front wing, but nothing serious, with the driver continuing in the race normally, with the images revealing that Norris made a mistake and ended up touching the barrier, almost throwing his race in the trash. After the pit stop on lap 39, Piastri ended up losing position to Hamilton, returning in 5th place, having another 23 laps to try to gain those positions. On lap 40, Piastri managed to gain position from Hamilton, taking 4th place in a beautiful maneuver, and already tried to get closer to Russell in the following laps, taking advantage of the slightly newer tires. On lap 44, Piastri was already close to Russell and immediately tried to gain that position, so as not to wear out his tires too much, and on the following lap, the McLaren driver managed to overtake Russell very well, taking 3rd place, now 18 seconds behind Verstappen. Would it be possible to get there with just over 15 laps to go? On lap 45, Norris made another mistake, almost crashing his car again, even with a 24-second advantage over Verstappen, with his team asking him to concentrate fully on this final straight to avoid any unforeseen events. On lap 50, Leclerc caught up to Lewis Hamilton and could have gained that position and also that of Russell, with Hamilton not even fighting and giving up the position to Leclerc on the following lap. At that moment, Magnussen lightly touched the barrier and ended up puncturing his tire, with the car slowing down on the track and the threat of a safety car. However, the driver managed to get his car to the garage without harming the race too much. With 5 laps to go, Norris was leading by 25 seconds over Verstappen, with Piastri unable to close the gap on Verstappen and remaining in 3rd, 18 seconds behind, with Leclerc catching up to Russell and trying to get 4th place. On lap 60, Magnussen retired from the race, with Leclerc unable to gain the position from Russell. As a strategy, Red Bull used its B team to take the point from Norris's fastest lap, with Ricciardo pitting for soft tires with 2 laps to go and setting the fastest lap. However, Leclerc was unable to overtake Russell, and with the checkered flag, Lando Norris was the big winner of the Singapore GP with a huge advantage over Verstappen, who came in 2nd, with Oscar Piastri closing the podium of this race, which, despite not having many overtakings, was very interesting in terms of strategies and could yield some precious points in the Constructors' and Drivers' Championships. Rounding out the top 10, Russell was 4th, Leclerc 5th, Hamilton 6th, Sainz 7th, Alonso 8th, Hülkenberg 9th, and Sergio Perez 10th.